So, Ignite time. If you are not familiar with Ignites, Marissa is going to tell you all about them. And after the Ignites, which are just very short, stay put because this is where you're going to do your open space proposals, and then we'll make the schedule for the rest of the afternoon. So, Marissa.
So, hi, welcome to our first of our 2 Ignite sessions for DevOps Days. This one we have 3 fantastic speakers lined up. There will be 4 at the presentation tomorrow. There's also a 4th very short session after this. Seth Fargo will be talking more about that after our 3rd speaker has finished. So keep that in mind. Just a little bit about Ignite if you're not familiar with the format. The speakers have all pre-submitted 20 slides. They're assembled into a master deck. They auto-advance every 15 seconds. So do the math, it's 5 minutes for each speaker, and when they have finished, there'll be a slide that says next. It's a very short transition between them, so there won't be any introductions between them. And then after our 3rd speaker, Seth will be up very briefly. So that's it. Let's get this party started.
Hi, so my name is Nivea Henry. I hail from Pittsburgh. I am a awesome enabler, and I'm here to talk to you guys about first build the team so that you can build the things. And so you've all been misled. This is not about turtles all the way down. It's not about process all the way down. Forget the processes for a minute and focus on the people. If you want to make something great, you've got to work on getting a team together who can do it. And so we've heard this before, Conway's Law and all. Your software does resemble your culture, and this is very evident to people who use your software. So when you think about healthcare.gov, Zoom, Microsoft, Apple, we are all very well aware of their culture, and it's represented in there. So this is what culture is, according to Merriam-Webster dictionary. But really, at an organization, the team is that microcosm. The team represents the culture. They're the micro unit of a culture. So how do we build a team that then embraces these things that are good for the culture? Things like changing without introducing chaos, quality, execution, consistency. Well, one of the first things we have to do is we have to build a whole team. What that means is we have to make sure that everyone in the team or everyone in the organization that will eventually touch or consume the product is included in that team. So when you think about your product lifecycle, your software development lifecycle, make sure that they include every representative in there. Don't think about just the development side or the system side. Think about it all the way from the product side. Make sure that somebody's representing the end user. Make sure somebody's representing the vision. You also have to keep your teams together. We're not 50% human, so don't do 50% allocation, guys. You have to be there full time. And as a leader, you have to make sure that you secure your team's resources the whole time. Because what happens is, if you take a team and you slice them between projects, you never give them an opportunity to go through that team development. That team development is called, there's forming, storming, norming, and performing. If you do this, they'll never get to the norming and performing. They'll stay forming and storming and unable to build trust. What you do instead is you keep the team whole and consistent, and then you flow work into them. Slice up your backlogs. Slice up whatever work container you have to ensure that the work comes with them. Also, as a leader or a team member, share the vision with your team. They need to understand your customers. They need to embody your customers. They need to understand your market segment. The better they understand the vision, the better they'll be able to articulate that vision in the product. We've heard a lot of this. Empower your teams. You are not corporate mom. You are not there to be their corporate boss necessarily. You're here to make sure that they understand what they can do to, you're here to give them an opportunity to perform. You're here to support them, but you're not here to solve their problems immediately. By the way, if you try to solve their problems immediately, it'll become a culture of learned incompetence, something you certainly don't want to happen. But you have to be their poop umbrella. Your job, your number one job as a leader, is to protect them from the organizational chaos that will come down as soon as the organization smells a foreign object. And at the moment, your team is that foreign object because suddenly you are empowered. So you have to be this guy right here. You have to be ready to slay the dragons. You have to be ready to go to the hilltop and shout down for your team to represent your team. Otherwise, you're not doing anything right. Reward curiosity. Please, don't punish anyone for challenging you. As a leader, as a product owner, don't challenge them. Embrace it. Encourage them to ask questions. Encourage them to think outside of the box. Your team will all benefit from them doing that. Obviously, appreciate them. I heard somewhere that 30% of employees leave because they don't get the recognition they deserve. All it really takes is a simple thank you, a public recognition that your team has done something extraordinary. Once you do that, get the hell out of their way and let them build great things. Really, that's all that needs to be done. You don't need to know the code. You don't need to know exactly what they're doing. If you do those things, you just get out of their way. Lastly, you don't have to be a leader to be a leader. Everyone can do these. We talked a lot about empowerment, so these are some of the things anybody in this room can do to start getting them a team and a culture that then reflects a great product. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Jasmine Russell. I'm going to bring a different perspective. I'm actually a digital analyst, specifically a digital marketing analyst. And I want to talk about this idea of clash. Oftentimes, well, most of the time, websites are actually built before the analytics are applied. So it kind of creates this apple and orange approach between analytics and developers, where we're trying to make something work, but it really isn't working because we're constantly talking about how the site is already there, it's going to stay, and how we want to build those analytics on top of it. So I like to think of something like a sangria that's a little bit tasty that we all like, and blending those flavors together, really blending those ideas to make them work so we can get at the end goal, which is ultimately that conversion. So I'm going to take a structured approach, the data the tool, kind of blending those into one, the development approach, more so how I approach the developer, and then also the clash and why it works. So the first example is LearnVest. LearnVest is a great site. It's founded in 2009, where it allows you really to look at your finances and what you want from it. The email here is showing a GIF that's on the side, and it was flashing. It caught my attention because it really made me wonder, how could I measure this? So the goals that I think of, would people click through this? Would it enhance their visitation to the site? Are we really reaching our overall brand? So some of the things that I like to think about are, there's 5 paths that the person could take. They could come to your email. They could not click into it. They could click into your email and decide, you know what, I'm not really interested. Click into the website, which then takes them to the promotional page. They could then go on, sign up for the promotion, or they could click into the LearnVest site, the brand at the top. All of those things, I want to know beforehand, can we track this and can we do this? So I come to development and I ask these questions, listing out the 5 options. This is what could possibly happen. How can we measure it? And just trying to think of how that can happen as you're building the site can really create a better conversation with your data and your analytics. The next example that is shown up here is Sneakerpedia. For those of us that love sneakers, I love sneakers. And Sneakerpedia is another site founded in 2011. It's powered by Foot Locker. It allows users to come through and build their profiles. They get to show the sneakers, what they like, what they don't like. They can create different profiles. I want to know, as an analyst, what are those top sneakers that are on the site? What are some of the buttons that they're clicking into? Are they being brought onto this page from another website? What are some of those referrals? Is it organic? Is it not organic? Is it being put out to Twitter? So I need to know, when I'm speaking with my developers, is all of this cohesive? Is this something that is structured in the site, or is it something that I'm just thinking of off the top of my mind? As I'm looking through the information, a lot of times I'm using a debugger tool. So when you look at Sneakerpedia and you look through the debugger tools, you're looking at multiple tags, you're looking at elements within the pages that are used for tracking, but also used to balance the structure of the site. Again, thinking about what can happen before you build it and some of those needs that you would look for. The next example, just to kind of feed off of the soccer mania that we had here, the goal-winning opportunity that was put out by John Brooks. There was a person here that was online, and they actually put this heat map up, and I couldn't get it to go. But it was over about a 30-second period, or time interval, where it lit up the screen before and after. Now, within your organizations, you may not necessarily be using something where you need to look at just a short period of information, but maybe thinking about the geographic, digital kind of conversations that you would have. How can you target your markets? If you're using a heat map, it's a great indication. It leads to other information where you are seeing how specific markets are targeting and how these pages can ultimately be affected by either setup or demographic reach. There's different ways to really think about how your site is structured based off of those needs. So the last thing, and I'm ahead of my slides a little bit, but I really want you just to think about, as you're building your data with your data analyst, think about what happens before. So I have this idea of reshape and restructure. Reshape your way of thinking and then restructure your site, because often it's the other way around, where you have the structure that's already in place and you're trying to reshape it to fit the relationship with your digital analyst. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Andy Fleener. I'm a software engineer here in Minneapolis. I work for Sport Engine. I've been doing software engineering for 6 years now, but in the last 2 years, I've had a focus on operations. And so this presentation is all about the things that I learned in operations that also apply to software engineering. So the things I'm going to talk about are debugging code, understanding risk, and then how to manage failure. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is debugging. Debugging is something that we all deal with, right? Whether we're in development or operations, you got to fix bugs. They come up, you got to deal with them. There's really just 3 simple steps to fixing a bug, as far as I'm concerned. The first thing that you need to do to fix a bug is you need to understand the problem. What is actually happening right now? Where did this bug come from? What is your logging? What is your monitoring telling you about this bug? Once you understand the bug, the next thing that you can do is try to reproduce the bug. Reproduce the bug, right? So once you've got a good understanding, reproducing it is really, really the next step, because you can't know that you've fixed the bug until you can reproduce it, and then once you've fixed it, then you can try it again and it doesn't work, right? So then the next thing is the easy part, fix it, right? Like, just find it in the code and fix it. It's really that simple. The next thing we're going to talk about is risk. Ahead of myself, sorry. So risk management is something we deal a lot with in operations. We're the ones that get the call at 2 a.m. So we're the ones that notice whether something is risky or not. It's on the top of our mind, right? So the first thing is sort of understanding risk. What's the worst thing that could happen from this change? What is the absolute worst thing that this change could cause? The worst thing that could happen could be something like, so the worst thing that could happen is you lost all your data. That's a really terrible, risky thing, right? How do you reduce that risk? You have to figure out a way to make that less risky. So stay away from those sorts of things. The next thing we're going to talk about is reducing risk, right? So how do we reduce this risk this change we're about to introduce? Let's wrap it in a feature flag. That way we only release it to a small set of our customers or just to ourselves internally. The other thing you can do to reduce risk is code smaller, and this is really the most important thing that we've learned is make smaller changes. Seriously, like, don't do so much in a single release, and then just release more frequently once you've done that. So just release more changes more frequently, and then you'll produce better. You'll have, with more releases, then you can. Each change becomes less risky, right? So the next thing we're going to talk about is failure. Failure is something that we deal with in operations a lot. We're the ones that have to recover from failure. We're thinking about failure ahead of time. As an engineer, you should think about failure in a couple of different ways. One way is internal failure, right? So you've got this sweet service-oriented architecture that's got all these different apps. So what happens if one of these apps goes down? Is it going to take down all of the rest of the apps? You don't want that. You want to be able to prevent that failure. The way that you do that, and so you have a central authentication service, right? That authentication service goes down, and now suddenly your website goes down because some authentication service for that went down. Prepare for that. Expect that internal failure. The other kind of failure we're going to talk about is external failure. So you've got external services that you use, right? Like that's the internet. So someone can't get their password reset email. What does that mean? It means your email service provider went down. So what do you do now? Have a secondary email service provider that's ready to go, right? Swap to that email service provider if it goes down. Even better, you could automatically swap over to that email service provider when it goes down. The last thing that we're going to talk about is continuous improvement. And really, this is the most important thing. Your app is only as good as it is right now, and the only way to make it better is to make small improvements and to just produce a better product. That's really it for me. I'm Andy Fleener. You can find our blog, our Sport Engine blog at codinginthe.crease.com. There's several of us Sport Engine folks here. There's 5 of us walking around and talk to us. We're real nice. So that's it.
So, brief intermission as I switch decks and Seth introduces our exciting bonus round.
Hi. Let's try that again. Hi, Seth. I didn't say hi yet. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Seth.
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
I have a lot of energy. I don't actually need this microphone. That's how much energy I have. But I'll use it. My name's Seth. I'm Seth Vargo on Twitter, and I'm super excited for what we're going to bring you today. How many people have ever been to Velocity? By a show of hands. How many people have ever seen Andrew Clay Schaefer's Ignite slides, aka karaoke? So we're going to do karaoke. So what I need are 10 volunteers. That's, if you count on your fingers, you take each hand and you do 1 finger each time. So if you're in the top, you should start walking down now. If you volunteer, I will give you absolutely nothing. Other than a hug. I see Ben Hughes coming down. He's going to talk about security no matter what slides we give him. Cool. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know where you want them to line up. Cool. There's no particular order except John Vincent can't go first. So while I'm waiting for volunteers, for those of you that aren't familiar with the way that karaoke works, is each of these fine volunteers will get 5 theme slides, themed being in air quotes. Some are funny, some are crazy, some are downright stupid. There are 5 seconds per slide, right? And that doesn't sound like a lot of time until you're the person holding this microphone, and then it's an eternity. So what does that mean? That means each of these volunteers are going to be in front of you for a minimum of 25 seconds talking about something they've never seen before. Who's excited? Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Marissa to press the play button as I hand the microphone to Lisa. You're going to see a transition slide. So there's 5 seconds in between each speaker. So when you see the next slide up, if you just hand the microphone to the next person in line, we will be good to go. And go.
Okay, so there was this one girl that she was really excited to go to DevOps, but she was a little worried because she had weird glasses. Oh, so then this guy came out and said, "Don't worry, I have a microphone." Oh, but ooh, I don't want to go into that territory. I'm really sorry. But then Adam Sandler came out with a really good movie for once, and it was about him as and then it was an Adam Sandler movie at Walmart, and it was 5 seconds long.
All right. This is what happens when you go to DevOps Days and you stay out too long the night before, and then we're lucky enough you do really well in DevOps. You can buy a house, and well, as you see, people. This is what you get when you do DevOps, right? People in Mississippi can read. Media often makes a mistake. That's because they don't have a good DevOps program. And finally, we don't police ourselves, right? So
I'm going to talk about planning for the unexpected, like this, like end user license agreement. I was actually expecting blue screen of death, but you know, maybe you get a warning after that license agreement, because I don't know, not sure. But you know, an error occurred. That's a pretty unexpected error, right? Maybe not. I don't know. But deleting a file or folder, I don't know why you'd be not expecting an error doing that. But maybe if you're on your servers, DevOps folks, you'd have that. But data execution, don't worry about it.
Right. These are all the organizers of DevOps Days. That's clearly how they work. And this is the after party, because there's money left over thanks to all the great sponsors, obviously. And this is Bridget trying to catch everybody to have a good time. And yes, so it seems he's having a good time. Yeah, this is the post-mortem that they're doing after the conference to make sure. Okay.
All right, I'm psyched about this one. All right. So DevOps is all about peace, love, and understanding. We know that we got flowers, we've got happiness, black and white CPU. Oh, see, now this part of the flower is called a dev. This part of the flower is called an ops, and well, there was security in there somewhere, and then things really go kind of, you know, bad for you, and you just wet the bed, and really, we just want you to come into your own. You know, blossom, be a flower, be the best you can be, and in the end, you have a perfect wallpaper for your Windows machine.
This is clearly a slide on recruiting. This is what it feels like when you're recruiting and you're stuck there trying to hire. This is not where you should recruit. This is how an interview process feels for most of you. And as an industry, we need to talk about recruiting more because we're terrible at it. This is what recruiting should be like. We're hiring.
I do DevOps. It's sorcery, but I'm a Christian, so I don't do the dark magic. But, you know, mostly Bay Areas. Is that where you're from? Maybe. Okay. So I should learn DevOps. Absolutely. I'm a process analyst. I'm not a tech guy. But I'll have you know, I am mad DevOps. I do a lot of the culture stuff at Target, which is all kinds of fun. And yeah, this is why I love support.
Five. DevOps is like a little baby in a liquor store. Undercover. Might get carded, you never know. That's the security problem. See, and there's the security guys again. They're gonna bust you for that. And this is your punishment. That's the worst punishment. That's for going through the door and giving underage booze to babies.
These are the 5 things I've learned doing performance work with DevOps. Everything is awesome because you have robotic unicorns. Second thing, because you have the unicorn, you have grass. That makes performance all the better. As you can see, when you're a unicorn and you are awesome, you get to dance with the best girl at the party. And then you turn it into an awesome GIF. The awesome GIF runs fast, so we're all happy. And then finally, it turns into this, which I believe is a Nadia Cakes example of April Fool's Day. Thank you.
This is why unit testing is important. Got to make sure that before you go up there, you've got your code in place. Need I say more? Make sure you've got integration testing. Make sure, as Larry said, you have performance testing. That's certainly a big thing to call in place because, of course, you never know when your test coverage is going to fail you. Deployment, no testing.
And that's all, folks.